Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Cruising with Cheryl and Eric. Today's topic is going to be interesting cruise ship facts.
So anybody that knows me knows I'm full of interesting yet mostly useless information. So I figured I would share some of that with you tonight.
Like, why don't you see baby pigeons? Because they don't leave the nest until they're adults. But anyway, here are some of our top...
That was awful.
It's true though.
All right, you can take this for first one.
Cruise ships have a morgue on board. Not a smorgasbord.
Oh my God.
Anyway, yes, they do. So we're moving on.
There is no dentist on board on the cruise ship. There's a medical staff, usually a doctor and a nurse. But if you got a dental issue, you're kind of SOL.
There is a water filtration plant on your ship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most people don't know that. They think that they have big water storage tanks, but they don't. They actually have a desalinization and a filtration plant. So they take in the seawater, they get rid of the salt, get rid of the impurities.
It's actually pretty amazing. There's videos on it.
Yep.
Waste disposal on the ship. They do not recycle this, which is fantastic. Anyway, they actually have an entire waste disposal facility right on board. The technology is amazing. Enough said, we're moving on.
Each week, a large cruise ship goes through 20,000 ice cream cones, 45,000 eggs, 1,800 pounds of coffee, Cheryl drinking half of that herself.
Truth, not lying.
And 9,000 pounds of lettuce. That's a lot of lettuce.
Let us think about that for a second. Anyway, the average cruiser gains about a pound a day.
Crews have their own bars and buffets on the crew decks.
Deck number 13 is missing. Obvious reasons.
And I found that this was kind of an add-on to that one. On MSC Cruises ships, there's also no deck 17 because the Italian people are, that's a bad luck number for them.
Oh.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know this one. There is a naughty room. Ship's crew has found something naughty in the luggage that has to be confiscated. We're not going to go there. Just saying, I never lost anything from my luggage.
Booze.
Okay, needless to say,
marijuana.
I have not lost anything. But anyway.
And that naughty room is different from the next one because the next one is a cruise ship jail or brig. Most ships do have their own brig on board. Now, most of the time, if you're...
Is that like a Brigadier General?
No. If you're just, drunk and disorderly, they might confine you to your room, to your stateroom, and maybe post a security guard out front. Outside the door, keeping you in your room until you're allowed to go.
Yeah.
But if you're extra naughty, they actually will put you in the brig until they reach the next port and then hand you off to the local police.
So, considering they're on cruise ships...
Don't.
Anyway,
next one.
Naughty trivia. But anyway, you cannot bring an iron or steamer on board. You can also not bring candles, Keurig machines. No. You just can't bring anything other than hair stuff. You can bring a flat iron.
You can't bring clothes?
Well, are your clothes electric? Boogie, woogie, woogie. Anyway, moving on.
Cruise cabin walls are usually made of metal.
Oh, I skipped them.
That's why our magnetic hooks that we always bring with us work so well.
Hook, line, and sinker, baby. Anyway. Cruise ship internet isn't like an internet on land. Wi-Fi has been limited, slow, and pretty expensive for years.
They're finally in the process of upgrading to much better quality of internet, and time will tell if it's going to be less expensive or not. But
there's a dog kennel on some cruise ships. For example, the Queen Mary II. There was also one on the Titanic.
Some people actually do retire on a cruise ship.
That's why there's a morgue.
Oh my goodness.
That was so funny. Most cabins don't literally have queen or king size beds. They're actually twin size beds that they shift. Yes.
And just who are Bill W. and Dorothy, and why do they have friends on every cruise? So friends of Bill W. Are the AA and or NA meetings on board. And friends of Dorothy are LGBTQ get-togethers, in case you didn't know what that meant. Now you do.
Cabin door decorations may be sending a message. Pineapple, pink flamingos.
So upside down pineapples and pink flamingos have
enough said. We don't need to dive into that.
You don't want to find out unless you really do want to find out.
We don't have one in our room. They confiscated it and put it in the naughty room. Anyway, not all cruises have formal nights.
Next up, cruise ship pools are actually filled with seawater. A lot of times they will desalinate them to some degree so that people who, little kids in particular who like to drink the pool water don't, get sick. But yeah, they're seawater, filtered, cleaned up,
Cruise ships' iced tea is unsweetened. Because that's salty water. Just kidding. Anyway, moving on.
All cruise ships have godmothers. Some pretty famous ones are Princess Kate, who's the godmother of the Royal Princess, Oprah Winfrey, who's the godmother of the new Standardam, Reba McEntire for Norwegian's Epic, Sophia Loren for the MSC Divina, and Jennifer Hudson for the Disney Dream, just to name a few. They're not always famous people, but there are some.
I will be one day. There are ice skating rinks on some cruise ships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
This one I didn't know. The Church of Scientology has a cruise ship. So if you're cruising to Aruba or Curacao, there's a good chance that you're going to come across a small luxury cruise ship called Free Winds. That's the Church of Scientology's cruise ship. Yeah. They do, from what I understand, they do conferences and stuff on board for some of their higher ranking members is probably the best way to put it.
You need to get rid of people. Passenger hallway carpets are there to help you. And did you know that many cruise ships have different colored or patterned carpets on the port side left and the starboard side, which is the right, for their passenger decks? I did not know the reason why, but I did notice it because I'm always looking down at the floor.
So next time you go on a cruise ship, when you get to your room, look at the color of the carpet outside your room in the hallway. That way you know if you're on the starboard side, then you know whenever you see that same pattern or color of carpet, you're on the starboard side of the ship.
Yes.
Helps with navigating these big monstrosities of ships.
And if you notice it on the last day of the trip, it's all right too. Because
that's when she finally figures it out.
Pretty much, not going to lie. The largest cruise ship in the world, Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, will take the title of the largest cruise ship in the world at over 250,000 tons and 365 meters long. That's 1,197 feet. This giant cruise ship will be shaking up the cruise industry. Yes.
Cruise ships travel on average about 20 knots per mile. That's about 23 miles an hour.
So it's not your typical mileage.
They can, some cruise ships can reach speeds up to about 30 knots. But on average, the best fuel consumption rate is about 20 knots, but they'll speed it up if they need to avoid a storm or something like that.
They don't do donuts in the middle of the ocean, people. Okay, how you ask. Royal Caribbean is now the largest cruise line in the world. In 2021, Royal Caribbean took the title of the largest cruise line in the world by fleet size. Mm-hmm. Royal has now 28 cruise ships in its fleet. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Huh. This one I found interesting. Miami is considered the cruise capital of the world, but another Florida port in 2022 surpassed Port of Miami's passenger numbers. So Port Canaveral in the year 2022, Port Canaveral welcomed 4,072,396 passengers. In the same year, Port Miami welcomed 4,022,544 cruise passengers. So Port Canaveral beat Miami by just under 50,000 guests.
It's like a sports team, but it's important news.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, cruise ships have robot bartenders. No,
Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, I'm all right with not having a robot bartender. We'll move on.
It was cool novelty. Not something I would want to do all the time. But the world's first roller coaster at sea is actually on the Carnival Mardi Gras. Sorry about that. But now the Celebration also has a roller coaster at sea. So if you're a thrill seeker and you love the idea of roller coasters at sea, you know what ships you got to cruise.
Yes. MSC Cruise is the largest privately owned cruise line. In a time where most cruise lines are publicly traded and owned by parent companies, excuse me, MSC has a different story. MSC Cruises is privately owned by the Aponte family, an Italian family of ship owners. Holy ship, didn't know that. Anyway.
You can literally travel the world by cruise ship. While Caribbean cruises might be the most popular, a world cruise is on many avid cruisers' bucket lists. World cruises typically are 100 plus days and can be booked in segments if you can't commit to the full voyage. Royal Caribbean's World Cruise just left about a month ago, and they're on at this point, they're on day 30 of 274. So that's one of my goals. That's one of my dreams.
Mine too. But anyway, Princess Cruise.
With her.
Whatever. You'll find him in the morgue. I'm sorry.
You'll be in the naughty room.
That. Yeah. Never mind. Anyway, with the baby pigeons. Anyway, Princess Cruise, Stanley the Bear mascot is named after a real person. Stanley the Bear was named after the founder of Princess Cruises, Stanley B. McDonald. The bear mascot also made its debut on Princess Alaska Cruises, where bear sightings were one of the most highly anticipated experiences. Any animal is highly anticipated for me.
Norwegian Cruise Line has one ship that's flagged in the USA, the Pride of America, which sails round trip from Honolulu, Hawaii, and is the NCL's only U.S. flagged ship. By being a U.S. flagship, the Pride of America is able to offer 7-day round-trip itineraries in Hawaii, something other cruise lines aren't able to do. And there's a whole long reason for that, which I'm not going to go into here. But basically, because they're flagged in the U.S., they can do the inter-island sailing in Hawaii, and nobody else can.
A cruise ship anchors weigh between 10 and 20 tons. Mm-hmm. That's a ton of weight. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
You can go on a Friends-themed cruise, or Golden Girls, or 80s, or 90s, or biker, or metal. There's hundreds of themes every year.
We've actually discussed that in previous videos.
Yes.
Cruise ships are becoming more sustainable. A few examples include several cruise lines are transitioning to using liquefied natural gas, also known as LNG, as a clear fuel source for their ships. Many cruise lines have eliminated or are in the process of eliminating single-use plastics such as straws and individual water bottles. Anyway.
Another useless fact. Over 31 million people went on a cruise in 2023, which gets us back to pre-pandemic levels of cruising.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So now that you got a bunch of fun but totally useless facts roaming around in your brain about cruising, check out this video we did recently about 35 things you can do for free while on a ship.
Yes.
I'll add that more, hopefully not useless information into your head. See ya.
Bye.